Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg, and we're ready to give you your first taste of all the big names and top teams that'll define this season. We're looking ahead to what should be an amazing year in college basketball, so let's take a look at the preseason top 25 poll and see who starts the season at the top of the heap. Here are the Big Five, the top teams in the country as we begin the season. The Indiana Hoosiers come in as the #1 ranked team, followed by Texas A&M, Iowa State, South Carolina, and Texas. What do you think of the top 5 teams going into the year, Clark?
Those are some terrific teams, Greg, and the thing I find most fascinating about the top 5 is the number of contrasting styles we see here. These teams couldn't be more different, and I love when we have that kind of diversity at the top of the poll.
The Indiana Hoosiers are projected as the favorites here in the early going. They've got a whole crew of high school Mr. Basketballs on this team.
A team is usually happy to land one Mr. Basketball, but with the number they have, this could be a golden era of basketball success at this university. There's nothing but good times ahead.
Texas A&M is in the #2 spot. They're playing in one of the toughest conferences in the nation. How should that affect them, Clark?
They're ranked highly now, but they're going to have to play a lot of tough games in that conference, and if they're not consistently playing at a high level, we could see them slip a bit.
Iowa State comes in as #3. One bit of good news for them, they have last season's leading rebounder coming back for another year.
With that low post presence already established, they'll have a little bit of swagger heading into the season. I look for them to be sharp right from the start.
South Carolina starts the year as the 4th-ranked team. Their tournament last year came to an abrupt end with a loss in the second round, Clark.
It can be demoralizing for a team not to get past the first weekend of the tournament, but they've had all summer to forget about that loss and instead build on the positives from last season.
Texas is the #5 team. Their total of 29 wins last season was remarkable.
Matching that record is going to be a challenge, but they simply got to forget about the past and get to the business of winning games right here, right now.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What do you think of this group, Clark?
With such a long season ahead of us, it's almost impossible to put a finger on just who the contenders and pretenders are from this set of teams. But that doesn't mean we won't try.
The Vanderbilt Commodores, the #12 team, have stirred up a lot of talk in the offseason. A pair of players named Mr. Basketball in their home state form the backbone of this team.
Just to have two players who bring that kind of confidence, talent, and winning attitude to the table gives this team an advantage that very few schools have.
The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, the #8 team, have also generated a lot of interest. They bring back 4 starters, and that should pay huge dividends for them this year.
After their Final Four run last March, and with many key players coming back, their confidence has to be sky high. I expect big things from them this season.
Okay, Clark, let's take a look at the teams that close out the preseason top 25 poll. What do you think of this collection?
This looks to me like the deepest preseason top 25 poll we've seen in years. I think there are teams even all the way back in this group that are legitimate national championship contenders.
The Michigan Wolverines, the #22 team, could be one to watch. This university has been a regular destination for many of the most talented players in the country.
They don't have 3 or 4 All-Americans from high school. They've got 5. When you can put that level of talent on the floor at the same time, it's almost unfair.
The North Carolina State Wolfpack, the #17 team, are also worth keeping an eye on. They had a tremendous year last season, finishing with 25 wins.
That total identified them as a team to be reckoned with in college basketball. I won't be surprised to see them reach or surpass that total again this season.
There was no shortage of movement in the coaching ranks during the offseason. There before you are all the new coaching hires in college hoops. There were some intriguing moves made, that's for sure. The Alabama coach is one of the hires that drew a lot of media attention. The Alabama Crimson Tide have a lot of fans that are delighted to have a coach of his ability, Clark.
He's never been to the Final Four, but he's hoping that this will be the coaching stop that gets him there. And this university and its fans are hoping the exact same thing.
The Santa Clara coach also made a move to a new school, and that's generated some excitement on that campus. The Santa Clara Broncos are a team looking to rebuild under their new leader.
Very few new coaches can walk through the door and flash that NCAA championship ring. That boosts this program's profile right away.
We've come to the part of the show when we look at the top players in the nation and unveil the list of our preseason All-Americans. There before you are the 5 first-team All-Americans as we begin the season, and what a list it is. The Wake Forest Demon Deacons are pinning their hopes squarely on this young man's shoulders, Clark.
Barrett is the first.
As for our next, let's move. And finally, let's move on to the second-team All-Americans. The Indiana Hoosiers, the next player on the team, our next All-American, and here we have all right, Clark, thanks very much. Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Next up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll unveil the newest NCAA Top 25 poll, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our Player of the Week in college basketball.
Blair is a favorite to win this award every week, Greg, and he gets it this week. If there is anyone who doesn't consider him one of the best players in the country, just take a look at his last few performances.
He was playing like a house on fire this week, Clark. The performance he gave leads me to believe there might be a few more Player of the Week awards for him in the very near future. He looked like he was enjoying the pressure of carrying his team, so the increased expectations should be no problem for him to handle. Now, time to unveil this week's brand new Top 25 poll. Texas A&M didn't make the list of movers and shakers for any of the right reasons. What a drop for them, all the way from the number 10 spot to number 24.
I'm not sure how a team can change so much in such a short period of time, but they certainly have. Nothing seems to be coming naturally to this team anymore. Offensively, they're struggling to create decent opportunities for themselves, and on defense, they're playing as individuals and not as a unit.
Now, let's turn our attention to some of the action of the past week in the NCAA with our Games of the Week. We have a real surprise to show you. Not too many folks expected the result that came from this one. San Diego got by Arizona.
This came right out of the blue, Greg. What a wild and crazy game. Arizona was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. McGee took care of business in this one. His 20 points led all scorers. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
And next up, let's look back on another great contest from the past week. Santa Clara did away with Michigan State.
The Santa Clara Broncos weren't fazed at all by the hostile crowd. In fact, they seemed to feed off being in the enemy's building and used it to their advantage. I love to see that in a team. That's a sign of a tough-minded squad. Santa Clara was going into this game looking to build some momentum, and I think they did it, Greg. This win really impressed me just in the way the players carried themselves. They looked to me like a team that could really get into a groove and start doing some serious damage to their opponents.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Enjoy the exciting week of college hoops action to come. Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Next up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll unveil the newest NCAA Top 25 poll, as well as tell you who was the best player in the nation over the past 7 days. But first, let's take a look at the best games of the past week in college basketball. We had a pair of top 25 teams in an old-fashioned grudge match. Washington State toppled Cincinnati.
The posters love games like this. It makes their job easy. When you've got two ranked teams like this going up against each other, you can just sit back and see who should go up and who should move down. Washington State really muscled up down low and was able to convert a lot of easy chances close to the basket. Whether it was the big men or the guards, they made the most of their opportunities. They established their inside presence from the start and were able to rely on getting their points down low throughout the game.
And next up, let's look back on another great contest from the past week. Baylor outdid LSU.
This was a fabulous game from start to finish, and we had momentum swings back and forth. I'm telling you, this one was a lot of fun to watch. Burleson had the hot hand on the winning side. His 15 points led the team. What I love about him is he plays with attitude, with an edge, which you need in the paint. He's enjoyable to watch, and he produced again in a big-time fashion in this game.
Now, as promised, here's a first look at the new Top 25 poll. Cincinnati has the dubious distinction of being the headliners of the poll news this week because of their slide from the #3 spot to number 18.
I'm not sure how a team can change so much in such a short period of time, but they certainly have. Nothing seems to be coming naturally to this team anymore. Offensively, they're struggling to create decent opportunities for themselves, and on defense, they're playing as individuals and not as a unit.
Now, let's get right to our player of the week. Clark, would you do the honors?
Bauer had one of the best weeks we've seen out of a big man in quite some time. He was sensational this week, not just compared to other centers, but to any other player in the country.
It was a magical week for him, Clark, no doubt about it. The fans really got behind him as the points kept piling up. You could see him feed off their energy. He's a cult hero to those people now, and if he has a few more weeks like this one, he'll be one of the all-time legends at that university. That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Enjoy the exciting week of college hoops action to come. Welcome to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg. Coming up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our player of the week in college basketball.
Len Ball was a floor general of the highest order this week. And when point guards get on a roll like he did, it's basketball at its absolute finest. He was a ton of fun to watch.
It was a magical week for him, Clark, no doubt about it. The fans really got behind him as the points kept piling up, and you could see him feed off their energy. He's a cult hero to those people now, and if he has a few more weeks like this one, he'll be one of the all-time legends at that university. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together.
USC plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
But that's not the only item on the schedule that has NCAA fans buzzing. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
Washington State should come out on top if I had to make a prediction. Their backcourt is so solid this year, and their guards love to get out and run. That gives them a huge advantage in a game that should be as fast-paced as this one will be.
Now, let's turn our attention to some of the action of the past week in the NCAA with our games of the week. Let's get started with what turned into an absolutely terrific matchup. Tulsa toppled Washington State.
The Tulsa Golden Hurricane weren't fazed at all by the hostile crowd. In fact, they seemed to feed off being in the enemy's building and used it to their advantage. I love to see that in a team. That's a sign of a tough-minded squad. Tulsa played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
And two teams, each enjoying a spot in the top 25, got together. Butler outdid Penn State.
It was a real treat to see these teams both come to play in what turned out to be a fantastic game. They showed us why they deserved their spots in the top 25. This was an entertaining and fun game to watch. Hanson was the hero of this one with a terrific performance. His 12 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
That's our show, everyone. For all of us Welcome, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Just ahead on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our player of the week in college basketball.
Arbudas is our choice this week, and he might be winning an even bigger award at the end of the year. There's a lot of talk about him as a player of the year candidate.
I'd be shortchanging his performance if I put a finger on any one aspect of this young man's performance this week because he did so many things well. I'd have to say this is one of the great all-around performances of the year. There truly wasn't anything he didn't do this week at either end of the court. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. The conference tournaments are upon us, and no matchup looms larger. This game is a crucial grudge match between a pair of the best teams in the Big East.
Syracuse plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
And we have another upcoming contest that promises to be a classic. This conference tournament showdown should have more action than a typical game between these teams in the Pac-10.
USC would be my pick here. They are so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It would really surprise me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
Now, let's turn our attention to some of the action of the past week in the NCAA with our games of the week. Nothing beats a showdown between a pair of longtime rivals, Clark, and our first game is one of the oldest feuds on the hardwood. Purdue did away with Indiana.
Not only have we seen some of the best players in college basketball played in this rivalry, we've seen some of the best coaches as well. And the Battle of Indiana was as heated as always. Purdue played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
And two teams, each enjoying a spot in the top 25, got together. Colorado beat Iowa State.
The score might not have been close, but I don't think that's an indicator of how similar these teams are talent-wise. It was just a matter of one side having an off night at the worst possible time. Rhodes was not going to be denied. His 27 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
That's our show, everyone. For all of us here at the 2K Sports Studios, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. It is an annual rite of spring, bringing with it excitement and emotion that can be found in no other sporting event, the NCAA tournament. Your wait is finally over, the brackets are ready, and the drama of March Madness is about to begin. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, and this is the NCAA Championship Basketball Selection Show, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Joining me at the anchor desk, as always, my partner, Clark Kellogg. We're all set to show you the seedings and pairings, so get out your bracket sheet, get those pencils ready. Here are the basics. Of the 65 available tournament bids, 31 are automatically given to conference champions. The tournament committee hands out the remaining 34 bids on an at-large basis. An opening round game will take place on Tuesday night to narrow the field to 64 teams. But before we unveil the brackets for this season, here's a look at the final top 25 media poll of the season. There are a couple of major changes in the rankings as March Madness approaches. The Boston College Eagle fell all the way from the number 8 spot to number 16.
That's not the direction you want to be going at this time of year, but they're a strong enough team that I believe they can turn it around.
Also, a new team has made the leap into the top 25. The San Diego State Aztecs debut in the poll as the number 25 team. It's time to talk about the topic that has a lot of players and coaches holding their breath right now, the NCAA tournament bubble. These are the 10 teams that aren't worried as much about where they'll be playing as if they'll be playing. Clark, who jumps out at you there?
Marquette should be considered among the best of the major conference teams not holding an automatic bid. But there are plenty of non-power conference teams knocking on the door that may prevent them from getting an invitation.
And we have a few more teams in similar position, right, Clark?
Kansas State had the chance to set themselves apart from the rest of the bubble teams, but they never could get over that hump and guarantee themselves a spot.
I'm sure it's been a long week for those teams, but the wait's almost over. The NCAA Selection Committee has finished its meeting, and we're ready to unveil the top 4 seeds in this year's tournament. The Indiana Hoosiers are the top overall seed, and they will play in the Washington, D.C. Regional. They begin the tournament as the dominant team in college basketball. They've been ranked number 1 in the media poll for the past 4 weeks. We'll soon find out if they can live up to their billing. On to the second number 1 seed, who will play in the Atlanta Regional. The Connecticut Huskies are seeking their 4th NCAA championship in school history. The Florida Gators are our 3rd number 1 seed, and they'll play in the Minneapolis Regional. They return to the tournament after not making the field last year, so this will be a new experience for some of their younger players. And finally, our 4th number 1 seed will play in the Atlanta Regional. The Colorado Buffaloes are in the tournament field as a number 1 seed for the first time in the history of their program. Now, here's how the brackets shape up based on where the number 1 seeds have been assigned. In one national semifinal game, the winner of the Washington, D.C. Regional will play the winner of the Atlanta Regional. In the other semifinal game, the winner of the Minneapolis Regional will play the winner of the Atlanta Regional. Those games will be played on Saturday, April 6th. Then it'll be on to the national championship game on Monday night. Anything shocking to you about those picks?
Well, when you see the selection committee deviate from the top 4 teams in the media poll, it's a little surprising. They've opened themselves up to some criticism with these picks.
So, with the number 1 seeds out of the way, it's finally time to tackle the rest of the brackets. First up, we take a look at the Washington, D.C. Regional. The Indiana Hoosiers are the top seed, finishing at 29-5. They won both the regular season and conference tournament titles in the Big Ten. They will take on the winner of the opening round play-in game between Drake, with 14 wins, and Maryland-Baltimore County from the America East Conference. And now, the number 8 seed, the Clemson Tigers, come into the tournament as the 4th place team in their conference during the regular season and were winners of their conference tournament. They're going to play the number 9 seed, the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, who were 4th in their conference, finishing at 19-8. Duquesne enters the field as the number 4 seed from the A10 Conference. This marks their 10th appearance in the NCAA tournament in team history. They'll be getting ready to face the number 13 seed, the Yale Bulldogs. Finished the season with 16 wins.
The Duquesne Dukes have more to prove than any other team in this tournament. They haven't had a lot of experience in the tournament recently, so it's difficult to say exactly how they'll handle it. They've shown they're capable of playing with the best teams in the nation during the regular season. Now they need to show they belong with those teams come tournament time.
Kentucky comes in as the number 5 seed, finishing at 21-9. And they will take on the 12th seed from the Big West, the Long Beach State 49ers, with 22 wins. Next up is the number 2 seed. The Vanderbilt Commodores are the conference tournament champions from the SEC. They'll be going up against the number 15 seed, the Northwestern State Demon, with 17 wins. This is their 6th appearance in the NCAA tournament in the history of their school. Our number 7 seed is from the Big 12. The Texas Tech Red Raiders were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the big dance. They are going to play the number 10 seed, the South Carolina Gamecocks, who were semifinalists in their conference tournament, finishing at 19-12. Notre Dame comes in as the number 3 seed, finishing at 24-9. Eastern Washington comes in to face them at number 14 with 15 wins in the tournament and regular season championships of the Big Sky. The San Diego State Aztecs are in as the number 6 seed. They'll be taking on the number 11 seed, the Michigan Wolverines, with 18 wins. Looking into the future a little bit, this bracket looks poised for a titanic matchup in the regional final. If the top 2 seeds can take care of business in the first 3 rounds, we have the possibility of a classic Elite 8 meeting. Next up, we'll take a look at the Atlanta Regional. The Connecticut Huskies are the top seed, finishing at 26-6. They were winners of the regular season championship in the Big East. They'll take on the Jacksonville Dolphins, the number 16 ranked team. This is their 9th appearance in the NCAA tournament in school history. Purdue comes in as the number 8 seed, finishing at 19-11. Rutgers comes in to face them at number 9 with 21 wins in the tournament championship of the Big East. Pittsburgh comes in as the number 4 seed, finishing at 22-10. And they'll take on the 13th seed from the Patriot League, the Midshipmen of Navy, with 22 wins. USC enters the field as the number 5 seed from the Pac-10. It's yet another appearance in the brackets for a school that's no stranger to the NCAA tournament. They'll be getting ready to face the number 12 seed, the Tribe of William and Mary. Finished the season with 21 wins.
The USC Trojans will be an extremely dangerous team in this tournament, mainly because they have such terrific veteran leadership. Coaches love when they have guys on the floor that have been around the block a few times because they don't get rattled. They play with composure. I look at the experience of this team as something that could put them over the top.
Our number 2 seed is from the Big 12. The Iowa State Cyclones were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the big dance. They're going to play the number 15 seed, the Radford Highlanders, who came in first in their conference tournament, finishing at 15-16. Next up is the number 7 seed. The Baylor Bears have established themselves as one of the best teams from the Big 12. They'll be going up against the number 10 seed, the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, with 21 wins. They return once more to the very familiar surroundings of the NCAA tournament. The Alabama Birmingham Blazers are in as the number 3 seed. They'll be taking on the number 14 seed, the Terriers of St. Francis, with 20 wins. And now the number 6 seed, the George Washington Colonials, come into the tournament after finishing 2nd in their conference during the regular season and were losers in their first game at their conference tournament. They are going to play the number 11 seed, the St. Louis Billikens, who were 8th in their conference, finishing at 21-10. There are going to be some incredible matchups in the later rounds of this bracket. If the top seeds can avoid the early upsets, we can look forward to some real heavyweight battles. On to our 3rd bracket of the day. Let's take a look at the Minneapolis Regional. The Florida Gators are the top seed, finishing at 24-5. They were winners of the regular season championship in the SEC. They'll take on the Hampton Pirates, the number 16 ranked team. This marks their 4th appearance all time in the NCAA tournament. Our number 8 seed is from the SEC. The Alabama Crimson Tide were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the big dance. They're going to play the number 9 seed, the Northwestern Wildcats, who finished 2nd in their conference tournament, finishing at 22-14. Penn State enters the field as the number 4 seed from the Big Ten. This is their 21st appearance in the NCAA tournament in school history. They'll be getting ready to face the number 13 seed, the Santa Clara Broncos. Finished the season with 17 wins.
The Penn State Nittany Lions are a team that is just so powerful and strong up front. I would put their front court up against just about any other teams in the nation right now.